Today's Chapter 7. Innovation and Change. In this chapter, goes over why innovation matters to companies, the different methods that managers can use to effectively manage innovation in their organization, discuss why not changing can lead to organizational decline, and different methods that managers can use to better manage change as it occurs. So, organizational innovation, successful implementation of creative ideas in organizations. Technology cycle begins with the birth of a new technology, ends when the technology reaches its limits, and is replaced by a newer and better technology. Okay. Now, this goes back to Moore's law. Moore was co-founder of Intel, and his law was that every 18 to 24 months, the number of circuits on a chip would double. So basically, the speed of the microchip would double. He created this law in 1967, I believe 67, 68, and it was true up until about 2012, when circuits, microchips have reached their pretty much limit, and they've been very slow to grow from that point on. In fact, the 10th generation of the Core i7 just came out in the past week, and it isn't that much different than the Core i7 9th generation. Even the price isn't that much different. It has a few upgrades, but nothing compared to the way the chips used to be developed, and the speed used to change, doubling every 18 to 24 months. And that's what's the difference in the technology with the cycle. So it's built in obsolescence as well. So S-curve pattern of innovation, characterized by slow initial progress, followed by rapid progress, then slow. Right now we're pretty much on slow. The slope of the curve, steep slope, small amounts of effort will result in significant increases in performance. Flat slope, increased efforts will bring small improvements to performance. So obviously, when you learn something new, you go leaps and bounds when you first are starting to learn the new product. Then when you get to a certain point of learning or of skill, if you look talking about sports, then the progress is very slow to happen. For example, statistics that I read several months ago was that the difference between the top 10 golfers of the world and the bottom 50 out of 100 golfers was about 6 strokes per match, per tournament. So that's 3 rounds of 18, I believe, holes. So it's 36 holes, and the strokes are 3 to 5 per hole. So 3 to 5 times the 36, and you're talking about the difference between the top 10 and the bottom 50 out of 100 is only 6 total out of all that. So it's very difficult, in other words, to get from the bottom 50 into the top 10 because of so few, so little growth in that level of performance. And here's a diagram of it. So you can see right here where it's flattening out, and then a new technology starts, and then it takes off, and then it flattens out. So then another new technology will be here, and it'll take off, and it'll go from there. Okay, that's the way it's supposed to work. Because once it flattens out, you need something else to replace it. And we'll see why that is in just a minute. Okay, so technology discontinuity, performance or functional breakthrough created by a scientific advantage for a unique combination of existing technologies, discontinuous change characterized by design, competition, and technology substitutions. And then innovation streams continued. Dominant design, new technological design process that becomes accepted. Market standards um, indicates companies that will prosper and companies that will face technological lockouts. Going back to Walmart example, the reason that their system works is because they integrated uh, the UPC barcodes and into every part of their inventory and accounting and marketing system so that they could use the sale of each product to maximize all the different areas of the company. Also, to then create as close to zero of an inventory cost as possible by replacing items as they are purchased using this barcode system to then order new products and then calculate using algorithms how quickly the products sell so that you only have enough product on the shelf to last until the next truck comes with that product. And then also with uh, contractors like Coca-Cola, uh, different bread companies, you wouldn't pay them until the product sold. So you had zero cost for your inventory. So ways to manage it, you build creative work environments to manage sources of innovation, use experimental approach to manage innovation during discontinuous change, and use compression approach to manage innovation during incremental change. The compression approach seems to be what pharmaceuticals are doing right now to try and create a cure for the COVID-19. Components of creative work environments, organizational encouragement, supervisor encouragement, workgroup encouragement, freedom, lack of organizational impediments, and challenging work. At 3M, they actually encourage all the scientists to take 20% of their time and use it on pet projects that they want to do because they're just interested in it. This is one of the reasons why Post-it notes was created, invented. The um, actual group goal was to create an adhesive that would not ever come apart. And of course, Post-it notes are the exact opposite. And it was only through the creativity of the person who saw this that used it to actually put on paper to use for bookmarks in their Bible so that it wouldn't damage the Bible. And then the got the idea to take it to uh, a show that they were having, a convention, where a lot of the large corporations were sending their top executives, and they gave them out. And inside each of the boxes of the free samples was an order form that if they wanted to order more, they just used the order form, and all of a sudden they got all these orders from the top executives at the convention because they really liked using post-it notes. And that was the creation of post-it note. Wasn't planned, wasn't even thought about. It was just creative. Um, so experimental approach to innovation helps reduce uncertainty, accelerates learning by and understanding. And then we go down here. So approach to innovation, experimental approach to innovation design, testing, milestones so that you can measure the progress, multifunctional teams so that you can use it in different areas, and powerful leaders to champion the cause. If you don't have someone to champion your cause, it's not going to go anywhere. Comprehensive approach assumes that the incremental innovation can be planned and aspects planning, supplier involvement, shortening the time of individual steps, overlapping the steps where possible, and multifunctional teams if necessary. Multifunctional means they come from different areas, so you'd have accounting and marketing and engineering and so on and so forth. as opposed to functional teams where everybody's from the same area. Organizational decline, they're blinded, inaction, faulty action, crisis to solution. I'm going to sneeze. Excuse me. Excuse me. Um, you can see all the J.C. Penney is a great example of this. I mean, they're not going to be around much longer. The stock's already down to 21 cents. Chesapeake Energy is another company that's about to declare bankruptcy, and they're not going to exist much longer as well because they were blinded, they had no action. There's a crisis that just happened, and they just couldn't resolve it. They couldn't adapt. How you make change: first you unfreeze, then you change it, then you refreeze. So, for example, when I was in the financial aid office, we switched over from everything being on paper to everything being on a computer, being on the internet. So what they did to unfreeze it was they took us to training, to train us on how to use the computer, how to use the new system, which incorporated the internet, how to get off of the paper, the file system, so that we didn't have to go get a student's file every time a student called and look it up and see where they were. So they unfreezed it by putting in the new computers, the new computer systems, and training, and then had us go through and learn it, and then how to refreeze it. They took away all the paper so that we couldn't go back to using paper. We had to use the new computer system. Methods: education, communication, participation, coercion, top management, support, negotiation. Well, besides the negotiation and the coercion, the example I gave pretty much covers the other one. And then it goes into that a little bit more. And yeah, so let's go down to here. So general steps for organizational development and intervention. You have the entry, you have the startup, assessment and feedback, action plans, intervention, evaluation, adoption, and separation. Separation is a change agent leaving the organization after first ensuring that the change intervention will continue to work. Okay, so that's when they got rid of all the paper in my example, and everybody was tied to the computer. Lastly, types of organizational development interventions: large system interventions, socio-technical systems, survey feedback. I mean, going to scanning instead of having someone enter in the prices was huge for all the retail stores. Small group intervention, team building, and unit goal setting. These are just small little areas that you could change. And then person-focused intervention is on a one-on-one basis where just training and coaching will do it. And that is the end of chapter 7.